Hello, everybody. I know this isn't a Sunday fun day or me posting up a random video game clip or top 10 list, which unfortunately I've kind of went away for a little bit. There's an issue with those, and mostly has to do with my new schedule and just never find time to film. Though Megan and me are trying to work on getting those set back up. But yeah, I'm back talking about books again. Well, a book. I know it's been since January since I've put one of these out. Sorry, I've been working on this book for a while. I've been trying to read it. And first, I was really getting through it pretty quick. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a pretty easy, quick read. And then I started bogging down for reasons. I was like, oh, let me read a manga. No, don't read a manga, Charlie. You're going to totally distract yourself. Yeah, I am back again, like I said, talking about a novel. And just to let y'all know, originally I was going to try and attend an early screening for Atomic Blonde. That's what actually the little special thing was going to be. But I'm not going to really be able to do it. Just it's going to clash too much with my job and everything. So it's like, crap. So, sorry, y'all just had to see me talk about Atomic Blonde when I go to see it in 2 weeks, or about a week and a half's time, give or take. So yes, as the title says, I read Ancillary Justice. I think that's how it's pronounced. Ancillary? That looks right, doesn't it? And of course, this is one of the first books, I want to say, originally written by Ann Leckie. She is a sci-fi writer, of course, because you see the little planes in here. And this is the first of a series that, like Ancillary, I think. Second one here I know is Ancillary Sword. I don't know what the third one's called, but it's just a trilogy. Thankfully it's not like, hey, we got 78 books of this trilogy. You're not Douglas Adams, you're not cute and funny. Yeah, I picked this up because a lot of people talked about saying it was really good. I'm always interested in finding new and better sci-fi. I was like, hey, maybe this will be good. And really, the book started off pretty strong. We're introduced to this main character. She goes by the name of Breck, or it might be Burke. They kind of misspell her name a couple times, but B-R-E-Q. Very. I will say there's a lot of sci-fi here and there because, like, there's names that just. It's like, wow, that's sci-fi as can be. Like the main emperor of this whole empire, which is called the Rock Empire, I believe, R-A-D-C-H. It's like, there should be a vowel somewhere in there that really makes it bug me. Her or his name is Ayander Minanini. There is a lot of N's and a lot of I's in it, and it bothers me to no end trying to read it. Yeah. A-N-A-A-N-D-E-R M-I-A-N-A-A-I. I don't know. Let's call her Ander. But yeah. All this is supposedly so important, or the reason I'm lost in my brain and my thoughts. But, like I said, it starts about this main character named is Breck, who we learned is a little weird, but eventually we learn after this, into the second chapter, that originally she went by the name of Justice of Torin, because she is actually the AI of a ship. And an ancillary, as we learn, is actually a pretty much lifeless corpse soldier, in a way, is how they describe it constantly. Pretty much it is a person who is stripped of all of their own regular motor functions, and instead they are controlled centrally by this AI. That is a really interesting concept, and the reason why she is, and why we need to worry about her is because now she used to be an entire ship with thousands of ancillaries, and now she is just one single ancillary because her ship was destroyed. And it was by means that we don't learn till probably close to 3/4 of the way through the novel. Now, like I said, that's a great setup for the novel, and I was really drawn in. I'm like, ooh, I'm really interested here. Now, here's where I'm having problems, and the reason why I'm going to go ahead and cut a little to the chase. I don't know if I can suggest this book to anybody. I do go by novel pages, and this is not a long novel. Like, currently right now I'm reading Divergent. I just started literally today, and it's a little under 500 pages long, and even then it's like double space and doesn't fill up an entire page. That's how I feel. Sorry, towards Divergent, I'm like 30 pages in. But this isn't a long book. It's a little less than 400 pages, but it feels very... pretty much there's a lot to it. There's not a whole lot of just easy stuff in it. It reminds me of Tolkien in a lot of ways. Tolkien in good and bad ways. I do say that it is interesting in her writing style for this particular one because of how the pretty much civilization has grown up, or how it grew to be. They no longer refer to things as he or she, but instead everything was given the sex of she in terms of speech patterns. That is an interesting thing, but it also hinders an awful lot. For instance, there is another character who kind of becomes like a secondary character to Breck, the AI. No, Ancillary. We'll just call her that, even though she's controlled by this AI still. Neither here nor there. That she comes across her, or she calls her Servidin. There's a couple of weird eyes in places. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher names. Servidin. Let's just call her that. But that's how she keeps referring to her constantly as her, and we don't learn till maybe halfway through that actual Servidin, who is introduced in the first chapter, is actually a male. You don't realize how hard it is to properly picture things if you are not given a good sex to go by, and instead you're given a lot of guess, pretty much, because everything's called she. I know that is supposed to maybe build on something or anything like that, but after a while it creates a lot of problems. It's hard to imagine a character in your head because of this. Even though, and Lecky, I'll give her this much, she does use some great descriptors, but because of the fact that she misses the main one, sex, which I know it might be a attempt to her trying to say, it's like, well, the sex should not be the important thing. It is important in the fact that we still need to know whether or not what is this character's relation to different things. Is this, like, does Servidin do what he does because of a perceived, loyalty to Breck, or is it simply because of his own possible love of her? Like, hell, there is, like, sometimes whenever Lecky fails in certain things, like, we don't really learn till maybe near, or pretty much, I won't say really near the end of it, that Breck is actually black. And that's a kind of odd thing to kind of just leave. It's like, well, it kind of would have been nice to know this, because, like, I have this image of her, and then you just crash it. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, if she'd been this way, I could have imagined, like, oh, okay, so she's sort of like, I don't know, Jada Pinkett Smith, or I don't know, anybody. It's like, instead I have this, like, image of somebody else, and I guess it's supposed to play on that and kind of point out your own prejudices or anything like that, but you're having to fill in the void, and unfortunately trying to fill in that void creates a lot of problems. Because people lack a lot of physical characteristics explained pretty well, they tend to not have their motivations explained very well. That's an issue. It's like, you can't have so much missing and expect for us to care a lot about these characters. And that's a big problem. It's like, for instance, this story actually is kind of like two stories for a good chunk of it. We get to see Breck and Servidin trying to come across this gun, which supposedly will help her, as she eventually reveals, like, it's like 4 or 5 chapters in this part of it, that she wants to kill the Lord of the Radek. She wants to murder him, wants to assassinate him. Now, that's like, okay, well, that's an interesting kind of little thing. It's like, that's pretty much the driving force for that story. But the other story is about this one lieutenant and also Breck, whenever she was actually still an AI in control of a ship, their interactions with this one world, in a way, I guess. But it turns out that this lieutenant, her name is Awen, A-W-N. I'm going to call her Awen. Sounds, or Alwyn is how I think it might be pronounced as well. Now, most we can tell is she's compassionate and she cares about people and she wants justice in a way. The lieutenant that we speak about. But because we don't know much else other than that, she's kind of one note. That's part of the problem. A lot of these characters, because they lack certain physical characteristics, because we don't always delve too much into anybody's background except for Servaden, we don't care as much. In fact, it got to be after a while, I first was very interested in Lieutenant Awen's part. Sorry, I'm going to keep flip-flopping on that. It got to a lot of her areas I was just getting bored with, because she just does stuff and stuff sort of kind of not really happens. None of it feels impactful until closer to the end of or till the middle part of the actual novel. Because we learn eventually that the stuff with Lieutenant Alwyn took place about 20 or so years before the stuff with Breck trying to get this gun. And we learn that this is the setup for why Breck is now just one single ancillary. And it turns out it's a betrayal thing, all that. And honestly, that's another part where it begins to lose itself. It wants to delve into this political intrigue. It wants to have all these different little things, but it's trying to combine this with high concept sci-fi dealing with artificial intelligence that technically has feelings and has emotions in its own right, which is an interesting idea, but also wants to combine it with this possible civil war coming along, possible split personalities and stuff like that. And after a while, you just get lost. And that's the thing. Like, I was stuck on like page, I want to say like 250 or so, just not able to progress, just because I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on right now. And I feel really confused. I had to like go back, reread over a few bits. And it's not because like I took a break before I eventually got to the spot where I got stuck at. It's just that I just got stuck in it. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take a break for a little bit because now I don't know what the hell's going on. Reread a few bits, then got back to that and still felt like I trudged through it. And that's a big issue with this novel. It feels like a lot of times I was pushing myself through it. Hell, half the stuff with Servaden and Breck trying to get this gun that is so important about killing the Emperor or Lord. It's kind of funny that they call, she's constantly, or the Lord of the Rack is constantly called that Lord. And it's like, okay, wouldn't it be something else? But I'm not getting into that. But, like I said, it's about half and half, give or take. You get past and you get present. Almost all the present stuff isn't very interesting. Much like Lieutenant Alwyn's stuff, where because of lack of characteristics, that it makes it not very interesting till finally a plot starts up again, nearly halfway through the novel. This is just straight up there, nothing that fucking happens until like just random kind of stuff will sort of pop up for a second and then disappear very quickly. It has no action, per se, which is a problem with sci-fi novels. It's like either you're going to have a lot of high-concept sci-fi and not a whole lot of action, but you're going to have some like decent technobabble, or you're going to have some good action, mediocre kind of technobabble, but still fun. This somehow tries to straddle the line between Star Trek and Star Wars and kind of just buries its nose into a pointlessness, it feels like. And it feels kind of mean to pick on this book, because like, it is actually well written, I will say that much. Although I will say there's just one there's different alien groups, though it's strange. They all seem to be human in ways. But there's one alien group, they're just simply known as the just R's. They say, well, that's how they technically would refer themselves and blah blah. It's like, oh god, shut up. You are literally just trying to make an excuse for why you could not even think of a name. I don't know. It's one of the weird parts amongst many in this entire book. But yeah, when you have a not interesting past mechanic going on, that, again, it's bereft of characters, but then you have this current present stuff, and it feels like the entire plot is moving forward at a snail's pace, you're going to be very bored with it. And that's how I felt throughout almost this entire thing. I never felt like the main characters were in really any kind of threat. I couldn't invest myself in them, so I just quickly kept like, oh, well, I can go read something else. I had to tell myself, don't read a manga because I will get completely distracted and not want to go back to this. That's the reason why there haven't been any manga reviews since then. Sorry. But yeah. I don't know. It's just there's so much that should be good about it. Like I said, there's good writing. And when she's describing landscapes and, you know, like how ships look and stuff like that, it's really good. But it's like, the finer character points, not quite getting them. And not only that, but just it's so bereft of any kind of action or anything. Like, the whole process of Servadin and Breck trying to get this gun that will supposedly help her takes over half the damn book. Over half, mind you. And what were they doing in between? They think, oh, well, they're venturing or something. They're coming across and having little adventures. Nope. Almost 2/3 of it, they're actually just sitting in this one place waiting for somebody to show up. And that's how it feels, right? You're just waiting around, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for something to happen. And that's not a good start for a first novel. You can't have something so... yeah, just boring is a nice way to describe it. I mean, it's not good for us. Like, if they were to make this into a movie, they could literally cut all of that down to maybe 10 minutes. There's a little bit of dialogue they have, but none of it's really interesting. None of it's very poignant. So you don't care a lot of times. And I'll say this much, at least Ann Leckie allows you to try and use your imagination with certain things, which is a good thing for sci-fi writers. She doesn't try to hold your hand and explain, like, how lasers work, how these spaceships exactly work, or anything. Some of the minute details of science aren't always 100% one way or the other, but it's sci-fi, science fiction. I'm good with that. So yeah, I don't know. I can't suggest this to anybody. It's too dense of a novel. It's too... pretty much just too baroque in its own ways. There's just too much... it's like there's a lot of fanciful and very well done writing, but it's very hollow. You don't give a shit by the end of it. Like, I got done with it the other day and I was like, alright, I'm done. Like, I didn't feel fulfilled. It doesn't help that it does feel like it just kind of like, hey, look, ending. There's something that happens at the end and then boom. Cliffhanger in a way. Even then, it doesn't make exact sense. I'm not going to ruin it just because I want y'all to, if you want to, you can read it for yourself. Not only that, but I'm still processing it in my head. I'm like, I still don't get that ending very much. Meh. So, yeah. That was Ancillary Justice. Skip it. Even if you're a hardcore sci-fi fan, I don't know if you're going to enjoy it very much. There's not enough meat to it. It's not... it's a little, like I said, it's a little too dense. There's a little too much, like, flowery words. It feels like a kind of Grabby Anne Rice novel. I just kind of say, most Anne Rice novels. No offense, I don't like Anne Rice. She's a little too much like, okay, and I don't care. I don't care about this character. We can get off talking about how their shoes look. So yeah, since I'm going from this, I fucking going to Divergent next. Yay! And I'm already not liking it. I'm going to try and finish it for y'all just so that way I can give an actual fair, honest review and talk about it in relation to the film as well. In fact, I might try and get Megan in on it. Mostly just because I know she wants to read Divergent. I'm not sure what she's reading right now. So, we'll see. But yeah, that'll be next. I might intersplice a couple of manga reviews if I can help it. I have a few I need to read. I might actually also throw in a new series I might start up soon. I've been wanting to start up Immortal Rain, but I can't find the first one anywhere. Like the other day, I found 2 through 6, and I couldn't find 1. I'm like, I really want to read these, but I don't want to get these and take forever and a day to find 1. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, this Ancillary Justice, I might eventually flip through and find the second one. Maybe. People say it's better, but I mean, yeah. That's it. And soon you'll see Divergent, hopefully within a month or 2 at the very least. And hopefully, like I said, there'll be a manga review or 2 to help cut up the time. So that way you're not waiting so long to have to see my ugly mug. So, yeah, I'll see y'all later. So, bye-bye, everybody.